Okay, so I've learned something rather embarrassing about OKCupid. And I didn't know this because I had switched off all of my OKCupid related notifications a long time ago because I was just getting spammed by a lot of uh, stuff I didn't, I only want to deal with OKCupid when I feel like dealing with OKCupid, and when I don't want to deal with it, I really don't, so I had all of my notifications turned off. But, okay, so the chain of events is that the other day I began a conversation with a young man there who I found tremendously attractive. Uh, right away there were signs that he and I were probably mismatched, because even though his profile listed him as a Christian, he, in his answers on OkCupid, he had said he doesn't believe in God, and he's, you know, anti-creationist, and so on and so forth, and my immediate thought was, well, okay, there's two possibilities here. Either he just means that he's a Christian culturally and he doesn't really believe in it, or his beliefs has changed since he answered that question. And I've been, so in my conversations with him, I was super open about my faith and super open about my degree of commitment, because of course the whole question of, well, will premarital sex occur, came up. And well, of course I'm very open about that, because I don't want a situation where I'm in a relationship with somebody who really, really wants to fornicate, and I really don't. I'd prefer if they could be fine with my standards and I could be fine with theirs. And, I could tell that it was a pretty big sticking point for both of us, because, obviously I would like, to live the way that I want to live, and he wants to live his way, and, also even though even though we're quite attracted to each other, our conversations were awkward, to say the least. So, I had gone back onto OkCupid because on the same day that I started messaging with him, I also started messaging with another guy who, frankly, I feel much less attracted to, but he's a much better match for me. And so, as in he is a committed Christian and he's, strong about it. So my thought was, well, it'd be remiss of me if I just stayed in touch with a guy because he was good looking and, this doesn't seem to be much else going for it. And, versus this other guy with whom, I'm not as physically attracted, but given time and getting to know him, maybe I could be, and he seems like a very decent sort of guy who would probably be a better match for me in a lot of ways. And yeah. But as I was messaging with this guy, I made the mistake of accidentally sending a message to the other guy, and I thought, and it was a sort of message that might have made sense to send him 2 days ago when he and I first met. But the fact that I had replied now was really, really awkward. Like, I had misread the situation and thought that it was a message from the other guy that I was talking to, but no, it was the first guy. And so I thought, okay, can I delete this message? And it turns out no. On OkCupid, if you accidentally send an awkward text to somebody, you can't retract it. You're stuck with it. So my thought was, okay, and because it's OkCupid, you can't just sit there and be like, well, sorry, I sent this to the wrong person, because they're still going to know you are on there talking to another person, which is in of itself very awkward and uncomfortable. So I was like, I'm gonna just cut him off as a contact until I figure out a better way to deal with this situation. But then I thought, if I unfollow him, if I unmatch with him, he maybe he'll see that and think that I've completely lost interest. So I was sitting thinking, okay, how am I going to save this? How am I going to save this situation? And I rematched with him, still trying to find some way I could delete the message I didn't want to send. And, I still couldn't think of anything. And then he came online, and I realized then that the whole time I'd been matching and unmatching with him over and over, trying to figure out how to get rid of the message, OKCupid had been notifying him that I had done this. So he naturally came online because it must have seemed like, oh, suddenly I'm getting so much notifications from OKCupid, what's happening? And so I'm having to ask myself the question, because, okay, first of all, now he's going to know, A, that I went back online even though he and I had been talking. B, he's going to know, he's going to just see that I behaved really weirdly after sending him that message. And I don't know if he'll put it together that I didn't mean to send that message to him and I'm just super embarrassed. I mean, he's a smart guy, so he probably will figure out that that's what's happened, but even then, he's still going to know that I went back online and that I was probably messaging with somebody, otherwise how did this happen? And if I wasn't, then it's a really, really stupid thing to do anyway. And, you know, I like to be confrontational. I like to be honest with people in terms of how I do things. So I'm thinking I might just contact him and be super honest about what happened, which is incredibly awkward and uncomfortable to have to do. But, you know, it's, I'd rather just deal with it than worry. But yeah, just for those of you out there who are using OKCupid, first of all, when you're juggling different chats, be really, really careful. Like, don't just use the tabs in the bottom right. I would say pop it out and just, you know, look carefully at who you're talking to before you message. And also, I would say make decisions about whether you want to try to juggle getting to know different people concurrently, or whether you want to just focus on one person at a time before you actually start the process. Because I feel like if I had sat down and really thought about, okay, what do I want to do? You know, I wasn't really thinking that deeply, admittedly. I wasn't thinking about the broader implications of my actions. But yeah, realistically, yeah, I feel like I feel like a jerk. Like, even though technically speaking what I've done is culturally normative, like, it's culturally normative to try to be, you know, I think to be willing to get to know different people at the same time and date different people at the same time, particularly if you don't really feel like you're matching well with one of them. But at the same time, it seems kind of scummy. I don't know, when I refuse to date multiple people at the same time and just focus all my attention on one, I feel like I'm being desperate and clingy and I'm over-investing in one person and I'm doing something that's potentially psychologically disastrous and injurious. But then on the other hand, when I try to do the thing of getting to know multiple guys at the same time, yeah, I feel scummy, I feel dirty, and I feel like I'm a slut. And I don't like it. And like, I haven't explicitly done a ton of flirting with either of these guys, admittedly. I've been open and honest with them when they've asked me questions about different things. But I haven't explicitly said, hey, I want a relationship with you right here, right now. In fact, I've been honest about my reluctance. Because yeah, I told the guy, you know, because I've been open with that guy about the fact that we have very different values when it comes to sexuality. And yeah, I I'm wondering to myself how honest to be. Like, should I be honest and say, well, I was exploring other options? But no, I feel like roles reversed. If a guy just straight up told me that, I would feel insulted, because it's like, yeah, I kind of already know that you're doing that, but you don't have to, like, be in my face about it. It's just so embarrassing, though. It's embarrassing, and I feel like a putz, and I just, yeah. I think moving forward, I don't know, because I didn't mean for both conversations with both guys to happen at the same time. My thought was, well, I'll hit like on both and just see who actually responds, because that's the thing. You can get a mutual like with a guy and message him, and it doesn't necessarily go anywhere. And even if it goes somewhere, it doesn't necessarily go anywhere good. Like, even with this second guy that I'm talking to, already things are feeling super awkward and uncomfortable, and he's like, I don't know. He looks a lot better in his profile photos than he does in his everyday photos. Let's just say that. And granted, I shouldn't make these decisions from a place of looks, but yeah. Oh well. But anyway, yeah, that's my point of this video. Be really careful. Yeah. See, that's this. See, that's the tricky thing, though. You have to work out, do you want to be the kind of person that tries to get to know multiple people at once? Or do you want to be the kind of person who doesn't? And admittedly, there's only so guilty I can feel about this, given that the first guy I was talking to definitely has other women after him. Like, I had a look at his, Spotify, and he does actually have other women following him on Spotify. So the implication is that, yeah, and they can't all be related to him. Like, I've looked at their profile pictures. They are not related to him, all of them. They're different. They're unrelated women. And he's a very attractive young man. I can totally understand why there would be multiple women pursuing him, and why he might be pursuing multiple women even. That's the thing. He and I never sat down and really asked each other, well, what do you want in terms of monogamy? And, we haven't established whether or not monogamy is a common mutual value. And, you know, as it is, I've seen indications in his profile that he might be open to polygamy, which I didn't think to ask him further questions about. But I'm starting to think that maybe I should. But before I go there, I should probably address what happened. Because it's a bit, like, obviously the easier thing to do would be to just ignore him and move on with this other guy who seems like a better match, but it's probably unfair. It's probably an unfair thing to do to him. But that's the thing, I don't wanna start the conversation of, yeah, I wanna just move on, unless I really am ready to move on. And the truth is I'm not. The truth is I still like this first guy, and I would rather see things work out with him than to see me going off with somebody else, if I'm honest. I'm only just talking to this other guy because he seems like he might be a better fit for me overall. And I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I can't control when I meet somebody, so I have to, like, live with the fact of, yeah, sometimes you have to, like, I could do the thing of saying to this guy, I have things I need to work out, can you give me some time? And, yeah, but even that, I don't know about it. I don't know.